No,
Yeah, yeah. Definitely. Welcome back to another episode of Youth Space No Holds Barred. And today we have a awesome guest who is a world changer. She makes impacts. She's a storyteller. And this guest, yeah, is also an autism advocate. She advocates for autism by speaking on radio, television, and she has been featured on several newspapers in Trinidad and Tobago many times. A trophy was presented to her in 2021 for her advocacy from Support Autism Trinidad and Tobago. She's a volunteer, and being a volunteer on virtual storytime at Faizabad Regional Community Center, she shares poetry and reads poetry. And she is also instrumental in reading for young persons at the DB Public Library. One of her goals is to visit schools and read to children at both primary and secondary schools. She was bullied, which is bad. Trinidad and Tobago, stop all the bullying, stop the violence. This influenced her, and her personality, it was different because she is different, and we need to understand that all of us are different. She had no idea how to initiate conversations. But I can tell you today, Trinidad and Tobago, and by the world at large, I was just speaking to her, and she's amazing. Yeah, definitely. At the age of 16, she was diagnosed with high functioning autism. Despite her official diagnosis, teachers and students still misunderstood her. Secondary school was a huge struggle for her, to the point where she dropped out for some time. When she returned, nothing changed. Almost every day, she came home and cried about how people bullied her. Somehow, although she never studied hard, she still managed to do pretty well at school. She's intelligent. She enjoys photography. She enjoys videography. She enjoys singing, public speaking, interviewing, and reading the news. Having done numerous media certificate courses due to her intense passion and interest in all aspects of the media, her ultimate goal is to work in the media and perform any task given to her in that field to the best of her ability. Shahira wants to become a renowned singer also. Without further ado, Youth Space No Holds Barred audience, kindly allow me to introduce Miss Shahira Ali. Yeah.
yes. Let's bring her on.
Hello, everyone.
Mhm. How are
How are
you
you doing
today?
today?
Mhm.
I'm great.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. And we are so happy to have you on today.
definitely, definitely.
Just the same on my side.
Mhm.
Beautiful. So tell
Right.
us, what is life like living with autism in Trinidad and Tobago?
Living with autism in Trinidad and Tobago is extremely challenging simply because society misunderstand autistic people to a very huge extent. And not just high functioning autistics, but low functioning autistics as well. I mean, after all, there are autistic persons who are nonverbal, And those who are verbal, such as myself, and who are high functioning and who can speak, they tend to think that nothing is wrong with us. But that is just not the way it is. And society tend to want autistics to sort of fit in, and many of them think that they can literally fix us, when the truth and the fact is that our brains are wired differently from the neurotypical person's brain. And hence the reason why, almost every autistic person who I've came across, they have been bullied a lot in their lifetime. And hence the reason why it's very difficult for people to understand them because of their nature. You see, the thing is, autistics tend to have some really quirky ways that people think of as extremely weird. You know, some of them might be very sensitive to noise, bright lights, and certain textures of clothes, food. They may avoid eye contact, like me, for instance, when I was younger, like in my school days, people would speak to me, I would answer, I would be paying attention, but I just would not look at them in the eyes. And when I was at primary school, you know, people would speak to me and I will not answer, outsiders, that is. And no one thought that anything was wrong with me. People just thought that I was just extremely shy because, all children are not brave. And the funny thing is, but it actually makes sense. When I was in my classes at primary school, when teachers spoke to me, I used to answer, but not immediately. I used to take like maybe a minute or so, simply because I used to be trying to process what they were asking me or telling me. And it sort of had people a bit baffled. But then again, they just went away with the notion that I was extremely shy. And I remember that since way back then, I could not catch jokes. As of today, I can safely say that I catch some jokes, but not all. But sometimes it might take me like maybe 30 seconds to a minute to catch a joke that the neurotypical person may catch in like just a few seconds upon hearing it. So yeah, it's extremely difficult for autistic persons in this country, and not just for children, for adults as well. Because I mean, the children, I have been reading a lot of articles where they are encountering difficulties getting access to a formal education in the school system today. And I do not think that that is right. They deserve the right to be included into society today and to get, you know, special aids to assist them with learning. And autistic adults deserve to be understood and employed because, you know, yet still today in this country, after so many decades, people tend to put all persons with disabilities on the back burner and think that they should just, stay at home and do nothing unless they can fit in into society and behave like the neurotypical person today. I guess that's it.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I think that was needed to be said. And it's so true. Like, probably Trinidad needs to be a bit more inclusive. And not just Trinidad, but the world at large when it comes to people living with autism. And like you said, they need to be applauded and encouraged and included in society just like any other regular person, because it's not that they are any less than, they are just different. According to how you said, they are wired differently when it comes to mentally. And I actually like hearing people who have autism or different disorders speak, because they are actually very good persons when you speak to them and listen to them. Actually intelligent also, sometimes more intelligent than people who don't have any disorders. And I'm sure Karim is agreeing with what I'm saying.
The autistic persons that I know, the majority of them, whatever they can do, they tend to do it exceptionally well. So, yes, indeed, they are extremely intelligent.
See what I'm
Like,
saying?
take for instance, like myself, I tend to remember persons' birthdays without writing down.
Some people just forget people's birthdays a lot
Some
and
people,
you remember them. That's amazing. Almost a lot of people.
when I tell people that, they tend to be amazed.
I agree. I agree, and you were speaking my language, Shahira. I'm telling you, you were speaking my language in terms of persons judging because an individual is not the same, and they tend to prefer you be away, and and I can relate to so many of the things that you shared. Yeah, and it's awesome. Yeah, and it hearing you speak, it boosted my spirit as well. And I want to know, and I want you to share with our audience, how do you feel when you give your testimony? Uh, how do you feel?
Basically, when I give my testimony, I feel a sort of a huge accomplishment because when I was way younger, I was like extremely reserved, shy, afraid to speak to people. You know, I could have wanted to find out something extremely important really, really badly, something that I needed to know. And would not have approached the relevant person to find out the information. But now I can approach people and speak to them for myself. And hence the reason why persons nowadays, if I don't tell them that I'm autistic, they never guess it.
I think that's powerful. Yeah, and it's like you're speaking my language again because it's that shows uh, how far you have grown and developed and learned how to live your own life in the way you came to earth. Yeah, and that's amazing, and that will give you a sense of awareness about yourself that many others won't have about themselves. And I
There
love it.
is
I love it. Hmm.
like a
Yeah.
story behind that as well. Would you like to hear a piece of it?
Well, of course, that's why I'm
You
muted my
can go
mic
right
because
ahead. Yes.
yeah, you feel free to share. Feel free. Feel free.
So, like, when I was like a few years ago, I did a course at YTEP in television and video production. And in that field, tend to have a lot of teamwork. And when I first came in, I was extremely quiet. I spoke to no one, not because I didn't want to speak to anyone, but that was just my nature. And the teacher, he sort of was like a father figure to me. He broke me out of my comfort zone because, in order to do some of the tasks assigned to me and execute them to the best of my ability, I just had to sort of take the chance and go and approach the relevant people. And if had it not been for that, I would not have been the person that I am today. So I would say that that particular teacher has played an instrumental part in my life.
Shout out to that teacher.
Yeah, big
Shout
him
out
up.
to that teacher.
It's
Yes,
wonderful to hear that it
definitely.
has persons like him out there, you know, being inclusive and, not judging someone based on who they are. Right? That's really amazing.
I mean,
But
in class, I did have my challenges and my struggles, but I was able to make it through. Most of the times, I was well. I handled myself well because I think for the reason was because I really loved the field that I chose, the course of study, and to like really operate the video camera, and they showed us to use the audio board and to edit and those type of things, you know, and even to like hold the camera on our shoulders and to pan and tilt the camera. Well, I'm thinking that you all may be familiar with some of those things.
I am very.
I know.
before I
Okay.
pass it to Diana, before Diana, I must say this, and Shahira touched on something that is extremely important, and she said that that teacher in particular was like a father figure to her, and I think as it's youth space no holds barred, I'll make this statement without apology. Um, I think a lot of the that's lacking education wise because persons aren't aware of that, um, or the teachers may not have that parental instinct to see when something is wrong, and uh, a parent with that experience or a big brother would have that foresight to be able to help someone who is in need of helping. Yeah, but I'll pass it to you, Adina. Definitely.
Yeah, sure. So my other question for Shahira is, besides the fact that you are an autism advocate, you read to children, does this help you cope also?
Reading to children helps me cope quite a lot because reading aloud is something that I really, really enjoy doing. With all the expression, being dramatic, keeping it exciting, and especially when you are told that people have enjoyed your performance and look forward to hearing more of you, it tends to make you feel really, really good. Like, take for instance, I saw celebrities reading for Nalis in 1 December. That was in 2021, I believe. And it was bothering me that, I wanted the opportunity to read as well because I really love to read aloud. So I just happened to see that a former teacher of mine who taught me in secondary school, she treated me really well. because she had experience in dealing with differently able persons at NCPD, I believe. So I saw that she actually reads at times on the virtual platform at Faizabad Regional Community Center. So I asked her to read, and she put me on to the person in charge. And that's how I eventually got the opportunity to join and read. And when I first started to read online, live, just like how I am right now, I used to be like really, really nervous. However, strange enough, it never really showed, and it took like an extremely observant person to notice any signs of nervousness when I read. Because I mean, I can remember the very first time I read online on that same platform, people were like super impressed. And to myself, I was like, but I was nervous to do this. And then after that, no, I believe it's November last year. Yes, it is. There is something called Poetry and Prose. That's a forum where local writers read their work and other persons read the works of the writers as well. And one of the writers who read in that forum is, and apparently he's in charge of it, is one of the persons who always read his own written work on virtual story time. So I asked him what's the criteria to read on poetry and prose, and he said that there's no criteria, and immediately he gave me a breakthrough to read over there. And every other Sunday, you know, in the afternoon, I um assigned to read, and pieces are emailed to me in advance. They plan their stuff really properly and are very serious. And in terms of DB Public Library, it just happened that I got through over there because I spoke to someone who I know, and it just happened that a friend of hers who works at the library, she spoke to her and told her about me and how I would like to read. I wasn't too sure whether I would have gotten through or not, and whether or not the promise would have been kept, but surprisingly, she kept her promise. Because I mean, in the past, many persons promised me stuff and they never materialized. And so when I realized that she kept her promise, and since then I started to read fairy tales, just the audio form due to copyright issues, and it is posted to the Public Library page. And there's usually a picture of me and the title of the story. But take for instance, like if I want to write my own story or something like that and read it, I can do it in the video form, because in that way it will be my own work. Or if I want to read an author's stuff, I will need permission first. So hence the reason why I need to be very careful. So that's why I do it just in the form of audio. But nevertheless, it's something that is there to listen to. And my intention is to inform, educate, and entertain people.
That is beautiful. And like I said, I can see that you are so intelligent by this answer that you gave here. And kudos to you and congratulations that you got that opportunity. And it seems like you are so very happy for that opportunity. So I'm glad that there are persons out there to access you and give you the opportunity to do the things that you actually love doing and you're passionate about doing. So I'll pass it over to Kareem.
I just want to acknowledge some of the comments. Yeah, we had Miss Ansela Kirby saying great discussion earlier on. Yeah, we
Big up
had
answer.
definitely Mr. Amir Hussein saying awesome and round of applause. And we also
Big up
have
Mr.
uh,
Hussein.
Mr. Tom Connors who says congratulations to Shahira. You have an admirer in Vermont in the USA. Great work. Yeah.
Oh, I would like to say shout out to everyone tuned in and who commented.
Yeah. Definitely. I love hearing you
Yes.
speak. I love hearing you speak. I love hearing you speak. Definitely love
Well,
hearing you
like if
speak.
you
And
want to be in the field that I want to be in, you have to know to say certain things like shout out your people.
Right.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. So, like, I would definitely say that in terms of um, persons being able to tell a story or carry on a conversation, that's a art form that is only a few people have it, and most of the times the people who have that skill are not normal people. And I want to congratulate you as well, yeah, for persevering and being able to pronunciate and express yourself fluidly, yeah, and charismatically. But besides the fact that you're an advocate for autism, you read to children and this helps you cope. Define, right? Can you define now what exploring adulthood is like for you as someone living with autism in Trinidad and Tobago? Can you?
No, exploring adulthood is not the easiest thing. When I first became 18, I was still very much reserved. As much as I really loved exploring and being around different people and attending cultural events. However, like I mentioned earlier, my big breakthrough was when I went to do the course. And after that, let's see what happened. I sort of thought about it when I finished the course, and I would look at persons online and see how they express themselves. I do not imitate anyone because I have my own personality. So, as much as there may be some people who I would like to copy, I don't do it. And yes, I just happen to sort of, it remained with me because I somehow the ability remained with me. And then, let's see, a few years later was when my psychologist sadly passed away. He used to be like the driving force behind my success because he was responsible for getting me to do that particular course because he realized my die-hard intense passion for the media. And I must admit that operating the television cameras was my first love. There was a time I used to say that it had nothing else in the media that I wanted to do except operate TV cameras. However, today That's not the case because, like I said in my bio, all aspects of the media, anything to do with the media. And yes, the thing is, my psychologist, he used to go above and beyond the call. A lot of times, I would be home and depressed, and he would tell me that I can call him and speak to him at any time. And if he does not answer, he would call me back. He used to call me back. I could have vent to him and all of that. And when he passed away, it really got me into a deep depression. But here's the funny thing. Since he left the planet was the year when I remember I did my first interview, and it was posted on YouTube with an autistic mom who interviewed me at the mall. And then after that interview, I did one on TTT, and that was my first live appearance. So I was nervous, but overall, I think that people liked it. And then a while after that was when I discovered, I was just typing crazily on Facebook, right? Looking for something to do with the media. And I stumbled across Increase Media. So I clicked on it. I had no idea what it was about. I just kept exploring the page, and I saw a number. I WhatsApped the number, and that's how although it was a radio broadcasting course, and at that time I didn't consider myself to be fit for radio, and that I told myself, you know what, let me do this course. I don't know where it can get me. So without further ado, I signed up. I did that course. I met my amazing teacher, and since then I have been doing a whole load of her marvelous, wonderful, uh, informative courses online, which a whole host of information is provided. And I even got to meet some amazing persons in the media through those courses, like meet them online, in person, some of them, well, that's before COVID, and all those sorts of nice things. And from there was when I, the journey of me speaking more confidently, despite me learning when I was doing the television video production course, really started because I did a public speaking course with that same institution. And when I did that course, it was like, I mean, although I used to still feel nervous, I tend to cover my nervousness better. But I know no one would believe this, but I am actually nervous right now as I speak, right? But I think that I have improved on my speaking since I did that course. But the strange thing is that I remember someone told me that when I was doing that course, that how I already speak so well, and I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. So when I completed that, I got, I would say I got like even better. And afterwards, I was given the opportunity to speak about autism on a few radio stations on the phone. And I also did that on television as well. And there is a group called Support Autism TT. It's designed to help children and adults diagnosed with autism in TNT. It's mainly based in South, and the founder of that group, she writes in a local newspaper, and I was given the opportunity and was honored to be featured in that particular newspaper a few times. And in the end of 2021, they decided to give out some awards, the entire organization. What happened is the people in charge, they were to vote for people who they think succeeded at certain things, such as, you know, the superheroes, like who accomplished different things, who improved in different areas of their lives and advocacy, and you know and when I received the call that they want to give me an award for my advocacy, I was like really shocked, because it's actually a trophy I got. I was not at all expecting that. So I really, really felt accomplished over there.
Uh, Thank you so much for sharing that. I enjoy hearing you speak. Yeah, and I think that um, you need to keep speaking and sharing and encouraging persons. Yeah.
Let me
I wanna
also
pass it.
mention
Sure, sure.
that
You go ahead. Mhm.
it's only when my psychologist died is when I began advocating for autistics. I believe that advocacy sort of fell into my lap because it's not something that I really enjoy doing. But you see, what happened is when he left the planet, people sort of misunderstood me still, and there was no one to advocate on my behalf. So, by the hook and the crook, I had to find a way to do it on my own.
Right. So that's why you got into advocating for autism because you were doing it on your own without your psychologist. That's amazing. Congratulations to you. And you
Thank
just
you.
took us on a journey in your adulthood, and I think you are handling it very good. So, congratulations to you on that. Without further ado, I have another question to ask you, so I'll get right into it. Would you like to share with us what has been a memorable moment on your journey that makes you smile every time you think of it?
Yes, indeed. But right now, one thing that can come to my mind is, this moment that I'm about to share, it's very recent. So back last year, in 2022, I did an internship at a local online radio station. And the person who is in charge of the radio station, here's the amazing thing: he's blind. And he does extremely well. And at first, he couldn't understand me, but as I explained myself to him, he actually took the time and understood me, and he gave me permission to speak to him every time I feel like it. I can vent to him, I can do what I want, I can speak to him. So I told him recently that it sounds as though my late psychologist come back in another form, and that really took a long while, because I was wondering to myself, why did God take away this particular person from me? Because I had to do it all alone, advocate for myself. But I mean, now as I have someone as a best friend of mine, well, recently turned my best friend, and you see, he is blind, so he has a disability himself. And because of that, he is perfectly aware of the struggles and challenges that persons in TNT with disabilities face on a daily basis. So I would say that it is a huge blessing making friends with him, and I'm glad that we met through the course that I was doing.
That's amazing, and I can see that that is definitely an amazing moment for you that makes you smile when you think of it. Because I saw you smiling whilst you were talking about it. So
And
that's amazing.
the best thing of all is that he has introduced me to some amazing persons as well. And he says that he likes me to be happy. I don't know how he can tell whether I'm happy or not because he's blind, but I guess they have their different way of knowing stuff. Feeling, hearing, sensing.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. I think Karim have something to say.
Well, that's deep. That's really deep. And I'm happy that you got to experience that moment. But I want to take a pause for a cause to share a little bit about the SDGs. I want to share a little bit about Sustainable Development Goal 3, good health and well-being. And this aims to prevent needless suffering from preventable diseases and premature death by focusing on key targets that boost the health of a country's overall population. Now, the thing about this SDG here, right, it is awesome because it helps persons like myself. It helps all of us, yeah, even the normal people, yeah. So, folks, please go on, do your research on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and check out the action plans out there. Before I pass it back to you, Adina, I just want to acknowledge some more of the comments. Yeah,
Yeah, I was
we
just
have
about to do that.
definitely. We have Miss Lynette Joseph, Mrs. Lynette Joseph. So much admiration for this journey of personal growth and
Good.
development. Yeah, yeah. I see, like you have more fans, Shahira,
Yeah.
more fans,
Well,
and
it's great
there
to know if I have fans.
vibes, good vibes. You wanna read this other comment, Adina, and I'll pass it to you
Sure.
as you're finished.
hmm Is there anything that she would like to see happen in Trinidad to improve the understanding of the society about people with autism? Even one thing. This is a question for you, Shahira.
Let me see how best I can answer it. Well, if it's one thing I would like to see to improve the understanding of persons with disabilities in this country, like especially autism, I think would be we need more of the parents of the autistics and special needs teachers, persons, psychologists, doctors, all of those people need to come together and advocate on their behalf and educate society so that society can include both children and adults without stigmatizing them, because the stigma has been going on long enough and it's time to end it.
That is beautiful. And I would love to see that also. So thanks for sharing it as something that needs to be changed in Trinidad. And I'm sure that you answered Miss Lynette's questions perfectly because she said great. Yep.
Okay, so we're approaching the end, yeah, and this is a lovely conversation we're having here, and it it it's almost as though you know exactly what needs to be done to alleviate some of the challenges that will have um, persons like yourself extremely uncomfortable, having grown into adulthood and experience all of that. Um, this knowledge is amazing. However, if you had the opportunity to give your younger self a piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
That piece of advice would be to listen to my primary school teachers because many times they tried to break me out of my shell by asking me to do things because somehow they saw talent in me. And all of the times when I was asked to do things, was asked to read and to sing and to participate in activities, all of those times I would just say no. And not only that, a few times, when I topped the class and, third, second, and first used to have to go in front the whole school and collect prizes. Well, I never used to want to go, but nobody knew that anything was wrong with me at that time because I was under 16, of course. So I used to have to go in front of the whole school and collect it. Never used to want to go, but I used to still go. I never liked to be in the front line back in those days. I always wanted to be unnoticed. I didn't want to take part in anything. So I would say that my biggest regret is not listening to those teachers because those teachers in my primary school, they not only came to school to teach for a salary, they cared about every single one of the students as if they were their own children because at lunchtime if somebody disappears they would not proceed if they cannot find them. They cared, they would have personal one-on-one conversations with us. I they they were extremely caring, so I would say that if only I had listened. So I would say to those youths today who are going to primary school, so please, if it is that your teacher wants to give you that opportunity, take it because opportunities come and go. Is either you miss it or you take it.
Wow. I love that last piece right there. I think I could use that to share as a quote on my motivational page. So thanks for
Well,
sharing that.
you know, I have missed out on so many opportunities in my lifetime simply because I didn't want to speak to people to find out how to go about getting to do the particular things.
Mm,
And I was in the
mhm.
perfect places. When you see somebody who you recognize from somewhere, let's say from television or from online or wherever, you know, take that opportunity to go and say hello himself as much as scared as you may be because you don't know what you are missing out on. You don't know.
That is so true. Karim, I think you have something to say. Um, Tell me.
Shahira reminded me of my. This is not about me, but I have to share this so people won't be foolish like how I was. I went somewhere, right? And whilst we were in the airport on our way back, whilst we were in the other country, what happened was a legend from our island was retrieving his luggage, right? And everyone was flocking to him to get autographs and all of these different things. And I was there like, as he stood right next to me when he was getting his luggage and I was getting mine, right? And I looked up and he looked at me and I just couldn't say anything. Yeah. Then everyone else was flocking to Brian Lara to get autographs and take photos and all these different things. And I was like, Mom, I couldn't say anything. So that's amazing advice. You made me laugh at myself a little bit for that opportunity that I could have missed. Yeah. And I won't let it happen again. I'm taking that advice as well. Yeah. Thank you so much for
Mm,
sharing that. Yeah.
of course. So, as we are coming to the end of the live stream, my last thing that I would like you to do is if you could share some words of advice to the audience. It could be for autistic persons, regular persons, anyone, children, adults, parents. You could share some advice here today before we close off.
Hmm. Let me see how best of an advice I can give. Well, I would say to autistic persons to keep on fighting like a warrior. At times, we all feel like giving up, even myself. But if you really think about it, persons with disabilities in general, these people are the true warriors in society, the true fighters, and all of them deserve to be treated special. And also to persons who are friends and family to them, take the time to understand them better. Be more patient. Because, many times I've noticed that the struggle is real because sometimes persons with disabilities, they just need a listening ear. Sometimes they might vent to you, and you, as an average person, might wonder, what is jail wrong with this person? Why is she only bothering me this hour? What happened to she? Why is she messaging me? But this time, it's just because they need a listening ear. You know, you see, what might work for one person may not work for all, because I can simply say, for me, journaling, it doesn't work. For me, like having others listen to me, like venting to others. Like, I mean, neurotypical people do it as well. When friends speak on the phone and all of that. Yes, yeah, that works for me. And singing also works for me as well. Yes, so different things work for different people. So I would say to allow the persons with disabilities to do what works for them, and do not force them to do what you think can work for them, because they are not you and they will never be you as much as they might try to be you.
That is wonderful inspiration and advice that you shared there. Thank you so much for sharing it. And I will take that advice also. And it was so amazing having you on our show. You made me laugh, and I learned a
Thank
lot
you.
about you and persons with autism. So that's good. I love having
And
you here.
can I mention one thing before we close?
Sure.
So there is a group called Autistically Blessed. It's on Facebook. I am the co-founder of it, and it's also there's also an Instagram page for it that I am the co-founder of as well. Over there, what me and my friend do is basically we inform and educate persons about autism by the use of articles, photos, and videos taken from reliable sources online, and interviews and anything related to special needs are posted in the group and on the Instagram page. And the reason why we do it is to make society more aware and to sort of get them to accept that differently abled persons deserve a place in society today. They deserve to be included and not excluded.
Lovely. So I encourage everyone who is on the live, you can definitely look at the group, follow the group, support the cause, yeah, and share it with your friends also. I'll pass it to Karim.
No, well, I'm amazed because normal people might think what the advice that you gave is harsh, but I think it's necessary. People with autism or persons who are not normal, are not you, they will not be able to utilize the same methods that you utilize. It might not work. And I really appreciate that tough love and that great advice. And
Yes,
definitely it's
I'm
needed. It's
speaking
needed.
from personal experience, and I tend to speak with brutal honesty, so hence the reason that I may sound harsh at times.
That's the best policy. Honesty is the best policy. And I think that uh, being brutally honest or being blunt is very important for a person's growth and development because being too competent and cuddling people, we won't grow, if we don't hear the truth. Yeah, and I appreciate your truth today. I
Yes.
love it. I love it.
You
Thank
know,
you so much for joining. Yeah,
the
sure. Go
24-hour brain that Trinis have, it needs to cut out right now.
ahead. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. They should be like persons who can remember. And the strange thing is, the people who would remember the most are persons like you and I. We would remember when everybody is forgetful and just going about their merry way. Yeah, I can't understand it. I can't understand it sometimes. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I look forward to interviewing both of you, well, separately, because I just love doing interviews. And I think I do it well. Strange enough, since I am small, I tend to be like really inquisitive. People will tell me that I ask too many questions.
I can't wait to
I'm
have you
happy.
interview us.
I'm
That would be
happy. I'm
great.
happy. I'm happy. Definitely. Adina, you wanna close us off today? Yeah, this is I'm
I would like you to
excited.
close us off. I'd like you to close us off. But yeah, keep
All
up the
right.
great work, Shahir, and I look forward to networking with you.
Same
All right.
here.
So I'll close us off today because I'm smiling and I can't help myself because I'm smiling. I'm having a high energy rush right now. So today, thank you so much, Miss Shahira Ali, for gracing us with your presence and giving us some insight into what it is like to be living in Trinidad and Tobago with autism. And thank you for sharing Autistically Blessed. You could put up her IG and her handles again. You can follow Shahira, Miss Shahira Ali at Facebook. Um, and you can find her on IG as well. And definitely, we want to have you back at some point in time to check in. And we're definitely open to that interview. Yeah, well, we'll be in the hot seat this time. Yeah,
And
so
that would be
guests,
great.
definitely. So Trinidad and Tobago, by the way, by extension. Thank you for tuning in today. And this was another episode of Youth Space No Holds Barred, a provocative podcast series hosted by Adina Sandy and Kareem Rice. And our specially invited guest today, Miss Shahira Ali.
Shahira Ali.
Thank you,
Yep.
thank you.
It was a pleasure indeed.
Yes.
Definitely.
Likewise. Blessings. So we are out.
Blessings. Yeah.